Explore the whimsical illustrations of Sarah Luann Perkins. Learn about the big changes coming to the Choice Savings Bank Music Hall. And hear beautiful selections from the Glimmerglass Festival's current season. It's all ahead on this episode of AHA, A House for Arts.
Funding for AHA has been provided by your contribution and by contributions to the WMHT Venture Fund. Contributors include the Leo Cox Beach Philanthropic Foundation, Chet and Karen Alpelka, Robert and Doris Fisher-Melisardi, and the Robeson Family Foundation.
At M&T Bank, we understand that the vitality of our communities is crucial to our continued success. That's why we take an active role in our community. M&T Bank is pleased to support WMHT programming that highlights the arts, and we invite you to do the same.
I'm Matt Rogowitz, and this is AHA, A House for Arts, a place for all things creative. Today we begin in Schenectady to chat with illustrator and author Sarah Luann Perkins.
I'm an illustrator, an author, and an art teacher. So I write and illustrate my own stories. I teach art classes locally, as well as carving and printing lino cuts. My art explores a world of wit and whimsy. I like to work with kind of classic fairy tale sort of imagery, but play with it, give it a little bit of a twist. A piece of imagery that I continually come back to is Rapunzel pulling her hair in a wagon. That's something that I've been drawing since high school. I actually had very long hair growing up. People would call me Rapunzel. Originally, when I still had long hair, it was a way to kind of joke about how people didn't really understand like how much work it was to keep that long hair. And then a few years ago, when I got the courage to chop my hair off, it was kind of a symbol of the unnecessary burdens that we think we have to drag around behind us. You know, you could just chop it off. The stories that I like reading and that I like writing, I call them relationship-driven, and people jump to the conclusion that I'm talking about romance, but they're specifically not that it's a story about a relationship. So my picture book is a story about a dad and his daughter who are caught on a rainy day together, and it's kind of about their interactions and how they deal with this disappointment. My graphic novel that I'm working on, it's about a house cleaning robot whose family gets a cat. And so again, it's about this relationship of this robot trying to deal with this cat that is making its job difficult, right? And so that's the kind of story that I find interesting, and I think that other people really respond to that as well, because all of us are dealing with relationships. Most of my illustration work was, and even still is, done digitally. So I developed my style experimenting digitally, and I saw lino cuts, and I thought it was just a really interesting style that I would experiment with. And the more that I did it, the more I imitated lino cuts digitally, the more I enjoyed it. Lino is short for linoleum. So you take a block of linoleum, it's referred to as a block, and you carve away from it anything that you don't want to take ink. And so once you've removed everywhere that you don't want ink to appear, you've carved it away, you roll ink over the surface and you run it through the press. And it's kind of like a rubber stamp, but on a larger scale. I really love the graphic quality of the black and the white, and the carving gives a very interesting kind of shape and line quality and texture that I find really interesting, and I just keep coming back to it. I love teaching, and it was entirely kind of self-driven. One thing that I and many other artists can be annoyed by is people dismissing artistic skill as a talent and say, oh, I could never do that. You are just so talented. And it feels dismissive because art is a skill that is built with hours and hours of time, right? And also, it didn't sit right with me because it's not that complicated. Like, you're literally copying what's in front of you. And so I knew that drawing was a simple enough concept if I could only figure out how to explain it to somebody. I had something to prove. And so I figured out the way that I would explain to people how drawing works. And then I found a place locally to teach. I had people who came to the class come and say, oh, like, I thought that you'd just set up a still life and you'd tell us to draw it and then you'd tell us we were doing it wrong. Like, I thought that's what I was signing up for in a drawing class. But you actually explained to us how drawing works. It's like, yeah, that's the whole point. If you really do want to draw, you can learn if you get a good teacher. And it does take a lot of time and practice in order to develop the skill, but it is absolutely something that people can learn.
Approaching its 150th anniversary in 2025, the Troy Savings Bank Music Hall recently announced plans for a transformational expansion project called Renaissance 150. I sat down with the hall's executive director, John Elbaum, to learn more about what we can expect to see. Big changes are coming to the Troy Savings Bank Music Hall. John, give me a little overview of Renaissance 150.
Sure. Well, Renaissance 150 celebrates our 150th anniversary. The Troy Savings Bank Music Hall opened in 1875, 150 years ago. So, yeah, a lot of history there, tremendous amount of history. But Renaissance 150 looks back and celebrates that, but also is looking forward to the next 150 years, which is kind of hard to imagine, and sitting here. But it's very exciting, and one of the things that we'll introduce into the music hall is a new HVAC system, which will allow us to provide conditioned air into the music hall and make it a little more comfortable and safe for our patrons and our artists, and extend our season.
Well, that's big, because currently there is no air conditioning, so it's
really huge, and will allow us to present more and different things, which I think is part of our objective as we move forward into the future.
And in addition to that, tell me about on the first floor, because for people that don't know, the feeder's actually on the hall's on the third floor.
Right.
On the first floor, what's going on down there?
So the first floor used to be the Troy Savings Bank, and has not served as a bank in probably a dozen years now. So it's a fairly large space. There's a large open area where the banking action used to take place, and that will become a sort of multi-purpose event space where we can do small performances, rehearsals, community events, family celebrations, business meetings, a wide variety. And then we'll have some other spaces as well for classrooms that we can use for our educational programs. And then we're also putting in a recording suite that'll serve the very large and growing emerging artists that are here in the region.
That's amazing. That's really going to help make the hall a major destination.
It does. It makes it kind of an integrated performing arts center, which has certainly been our vision for quite some time, seeing this vacant space and really activating it, making it part of the Capital Region's cultural asset.
Yeah. For people that haven't been to the music hall, give us a little bit of the history. What makes it so special?
Well, it's world-renowned for its acoustics. It's what's called a shoebox style, so it's reminiscent of the Paris Opera House, and that gives it some of those acoustic properties. And it's a beautiful room, and we've had so many great artists over the years, from Vladimir Horowitz to Sergei Rachmaninoff to Benny Goodman, Ella Fitzgerald,
Toscanini,
Paderewski, and then more modern artists, Yo-Yo Ma, Lyle Lovett, Benny Goodman, just so many, and we want to continue that.
That's wonderful. So what precautions are being taken This is a building that's a National Historic Landmark.
Yes.
So what precautions are being taken when you put in this HVAC system to make sure that the acoustics aren't going to be affected?
Sure. It is a very high priority for us, and we're working with an internationally renowned acoustical consulting firm, and they've been very good working with our engineering team to ensure that vibrations and noise from the equipment that we'll be installing won't affect the performances, and also to isolate what's going on down in the music hub from what's happening in the hall so that we can operate both those spaces simultaneously.
Now, I mean, something that everybody sees when they go there is that big, beautiful organ.
Yes.
So there aren't plans in this project to fix that or renovate that. Are there any hopes or wishes down the road to do that, do you think?
We would certainly love to do it. Many people approach us and say, well, can you play the organ, or when are we going to have an organ concert? And it would be such a wonderful thing to do. It's costly, and so it's really not within the scope of this project. But, you know, once we put this one to bed, we'll take another look at that and hopefully get it done.
Are there even really a lot of organ experts like that, the technicians?
We have found that organ aficionados are very passionate, and there are a lot of folks who are really interested and knowledgeable about how to do that. There's an organ historical society that actually had their convention here, I don't know, maybe 10 or 15 years ago, and expressed a lot of interest in that.
Wow, okay, maybe down the road, but this is quite a big step right now.
Right.
So this is right now just a plan, right? What's the timeline? Has construction started? Has the funding come in?
Sure. Well, we were fortunate enough to receive some funding from the New York State Council on the Arts, Empire State Development, the City of Troy, a number of private funders and foundations. But we still are, it's an expensive project, so we're still in the fundraising mode. But we have begun the project in terms of preparing the site for future construction. So we've done some demolition, some abatement of the asbestos, which is, you know, typical of a historic building. So we're in that process now, and we hope to be done by the end of 2025.
How do you foresee this transformation affecting the growth of the Troy Savings Bank Music Hall? Do you see any projected growth in revenue coming in and the creative economy of the whole, you know, Troy area?
Right. Well, there's so much energy in that area right now, and then we're there to support that. So we'll have resources available. We're committed to making the Music Hub, which is what we're calling this project, available to the entire community. It will bring more people to downtown Troy, more business. Again, extending the season, we currently attract about 50,000 people a year. We think that could go to 70,000 or more. And we'll be able to do our education programs both in-house and in the schools. So it really gives us a lot of opportunities to expand the things that we're really doing now.
Awesome. Yes. So 150th anniversary season.
Right.
Do you have any plans to celebrate that?
Well, we might have a few things up our sleeve. We've got a great season coming up. Kathleen Madigan, Victor Wooten, Branford Marsalis, and keep a lookout for a very special event next spring to celebrate the anniversary.
John, what does this mean for you? You've been at the helm here for how long?
I've been here 12 years.
12 years.
Yeah.
So what does it mean to you to see this big transformation taking place?
Well, it's kind of awe-inspiring, really, personally. I mean, when I first came to Troy, and the bank had been closed by that, at that point, I just saw the potential. And, there were many hurdles that we had to overcome to actually realize this vision. But to see it all starting to come together is really amazing for me as professionally, and it's amazing, I think, for the community as well. It's going to be the most transformative thing ever to happen to that beautiful building.
Well, John, thank you so much for joining me on AHA, and we all look forward to seeing the Troy Savings Bank Music Hall.
Thank you. It's such a pleasure.
We recently hosted a Glimmerglass Festival event right here in the WMHT studios, where Glimmerglass artists performed some selections from their current summer festival. And we, of course, were there with our TV cameras to capture it. Take a look.
If such poor love has Il bacio basta ad amatore onesto, il bacio sol desio, non chiedo il resto. Son al senso, signore, e voco vil mi cenerisce il cuore. Dolcissimi baci, un nettare siete, e sempre le faci d'amore crescete, crescete. Dolcissimi baci, un nettare siete, e sempre le faci d'amore crescete. Il bacio che il bacio da vita, la gioia infinita. Il bacio di cuore, il bacio da vita, la gioia infinita. Il luce di amore. We've known each other for quite a while. Too prosaic. Elizabeth, dear Elizabeth, I still recall the night we met. Hopeless cliché. Since my father passed away, morbid. Elizabeth, dear sweet Elizabeth, I'd like to share. You're shaking.
Life in the theatre, I'd bid it all farewell, if I could.
Father, may he rest his soul, hated my vocation, wanted me to be a surgeon, even studied for a while. Can you imagine me wielding a scalpel? Elizabeth, we've known each other for quite a while.
And how is your writing?
My writing? I've begun a new play, even have the title, Misery Junction.
Sounds uplifting.
You inspired it. A young woman, Catherine Dove, suffers poverty, starvation, and degradation, but in the final scene is released from her horrid world, indeed redeemed by a better life.
A better life.
Elizabeth, dear Elizabeth, I still recall.
And do you intend to marry Miss Dove off in the end?
Not sure yet. Only if her character tells me to.
You could wait a long time for a character to do that. You forget I began my career in theatre as a prompter.
I can promise you a life without worry, a life without care. I can promise you freedom from need, freedom from want. The world is a perilous place.
Place indeed.
Beyond
Beyond imagining.
someone to
With a generous heart,
shield you
who'll shield me from harm. For inside I am but a terrified child.
May I promise you a life without worry, a life without care.
Thanks for joining us. For more arts, visit wmht.org/aha and be sure to connect with us on social. I'm Matt Rogowitz. Thanks for watching.
Funding for AHA has been provided by your contribution and by contributions to the WMHT Venture Fund. Contributors include the Leo Cox Beach Philanthropic Foundation, Chet and Karen Alpelka, Robert and Doris Fisher-Melisardi, and the Robeson Family Foundation.
At M&T Bank, we understand that the vitality of our communities is crucial to our continued success. That's why we take an active role in our community. M&T Bank is pleased to support WMHT programming that highlights the arts, and we invite you to do the same.